Hey guys, volume 3. We're having some technical difficulty. The battery died in the camera, so I had to let it charge, which is fine because we got to kind of watch back what we had written. So anyway, where I left off, I was talking about what am I asking for my daughter. You know, I was saying, am I wanting custody? No. Am I wanting to reduce my child support payment? No. Absolutely not. In fact, I would pay more if I needed to. What I'm asking for is the state minimum requirement of parenting time, which in our state of Minnesota, it's 25% of the time. That's it. 25% of the time. So I asked to go to mediation. All right, again, it's a court-ordered mediation. It's in our stipulation, which is a court-ordered. You know, which I have to ask the question and ponder, why is it that a court order can be violated by one of the parents? I'll give you a guess which one it is. And there's no recourse. There's nothing. You know, in fact, they tell us, like, if you have a complaint against a mother, what you need to do is document it. And hopefully, if there's enough documentation and there's enough circumstances of documentation, we might have the ability to take it to court and argue against it. Huh? I mean, that's crap. And that is absolutely crap. My daughter was having tooth issues, all right? Cavities in her front teeth, cavities in her lower jaw, all right? It was so bad that you could clearly see the cavities in the front teeth, all right? I begged her mother to take her to the dentist. No, she doesn't need it. In fact, it's your fault she has those cavities. You gave her Powerade, and that's what caused the cavities. Okay. Never seen that before, but okay. Irregardless of the fact, if that's true, all right, if that is true, what does it matter? Take her to the dentist. I begged her for 6 months, 9 months, something like that. I called down to CPS in the county she was at. Now, keep in mind, my daughter, during this time frame of after I served the paperwork and then had that order of protection and then custody after the fact, her mother moved 3 hours away to a little town outside of Mankato, Minnesota. It was this little town called Butterfield. It's 3 hours away from where we live. Okay, now, during the time where I filed for custody, she actually lived only 30 minutes away from me. I lived in St. Michael. I was moving to St. Francis. She was living in South St. Paul at the time. I thought she was living in a place called Ember Grove Heights, which was actually closer. All right, it was 10 miles closer from my home from St. Michael to where I was moving to in St. Francis, based on what I knew. Well, what I didn't know was that she had actually moved to South St. Paul, because, again, not required to tell me where she's at. I have to tell her where she's at, but it's not a requirement to tell me where she's at, okay? I actually moved closer. I Google mapped it, all right? Because her argument was, you're moving farther away. And I'm going, what are you talking about? Based on where I know you live, I'm actually 10 miles closer to you, and Google Map proves it. It's not just me saying it, it's on the internet. Here's the printout. Well, unbeknownst to me, she actually moved, not once, but twice, okay? She moved from Ember Grove Heights to, I'm sorry, she lived at Circle Pines. Wrong place, sorry. She moved from Circle Pines to South St. Paul, all right? And then from South St. Paul, she moved back with her parents in Butterfield, Minnesota. All right, now the reason why she moved back to Butterfield is because she didn't have a job and couldn't afford to live, but yet she was going to be a parent. See how that goes. I didn't know. No one said anything to me. I was completely unaware. So when we went to court and mediation, I find out from her at that time that she had moved 3 hours away. Okay. Well, how's that fair for me? How can I possibly be involved in my daughter's life when she's 3 hours away? When I work full time, I have to pay child support. I have to be responsible. I have to provide, you know, not just for myself, but also for my child. But now, because of the decision of her mother, I don't even get to participate in my daughter's life at all, because I can't just leave work to go travel 3 hours every day. That's not feasible, all right? It's just not. So she, by her own decision and actions, removed me from my daughter's life where I had no say. Thank you, courts. You know, would have been great. Anyway, during that time, you know, like I said, she had not taken my daughter to the dentist, and I had begged her to where I even contacted the Child Protection Services in her area and said, my daughter has open cavities, please do something about it. It was not until many months later where my daughter was complaining about soreness and painful by eating certain foods like potato chips and ice cream that I was finally able to, you know, dictate to child services, you will do something about this. And if you don't do something about this, I'm going to contact the senators, the legislators, the governor, and the media. I will contact whoever I need to. I even drafted 3 letters. And I sent them the letters. I said, I'm going to send these to the media. Magically, they did something about it. I still got blamed for the cavities. Go figure. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, what I was asking for was more time. The state bare minimum, which is 25%, like I said, in Minnesota. That's not even that much time. That's basically every other weekend from Friday to Monday morning, Friday at 7 to Monday at 7, and then 4 weeks. That's it. 4 weeks in the summer. Still non-consecutive, based on the mother. You know, again, how's that fair for fathers? You know, I mentioned she moved 3 hours away, right? For years, she tried to hold it against me because I had written in the stipulation the first time that we would have a designated meeting area in a certain location that was on the way from Butterfield to St. Michael. It was about 45 minutes or so from my house, about 2 hours and 40 minutes from her house. She bitched like a banshee because she had to drive that far. Never once, and still to this day, does she fail to admit that the only reason why she had to drive that distance there and back is because of her own decisions. Her own choices and willfulness to move 3 hours away is what caused that. Her inability to get a job and keep a job. Her inability to be an adult and do what adults need to do is what caused those decisions. She still uses it against me at every opportunity. You know, I did so much for you because I had to drive so far. Cry me a river, asshole. You're the one who moved 3 hours away. I don't care. I really don't give a shit. Now she lives in South St. Paul. She moved back up here. Still working part-time, but now living with a guy who, they're not married, they're not engaged. We don't even know what their status is. In fact, I don't even know the name of the man that my daughter lives with. I know his name only because my daughter has told me. It took me the better part of 6 months to find out what his last name was. I don't know who he is. I don't know. I mean, up until it was convenient for me to drop my daughter off, I don't even know where, I didn't know where they lived. Like I said, it was only after it was convenient for me to drop my daughter off at her mother's house, because we were coming back from a road trip, that it was like, oh, okay, I'll finally tell you. Why was I not aware well in advance? I got married again. I met a woman online. She was in the military. She actually stalked me, and I said, okay, fine, I'll talk to you. Just stop, messaging me. I don't want your sex. But she wouldn't stop. She's behind the camera right now, flipping me off. I'm kidding. Anyway, no, she messaged me, and we talked for the better part of almost 2 years, okay? We finally met each other, realized that, hey, there was something here. And by this time, I had rededicated my life to my religion. She's very devout as it is. You know, and I kind of started walking away from the things that I was doing and had been for a while, you know, such as the alcohol and stuff like that. I kind of been focusing on other things that I could do, more healthy things that I could do, going back to the gym, spending more time on myself to become a better person, looking at long-term goals and things like that that I wanted to do. And in the process, you know, I met this wonderful, beautiful, just wonderful woman who she is like 14 times the mother that my ex could ever be, which is which is hilarious because my daughter absolutely adores her, and I know this has to piss off her mom beyond belief. And I don't say that because I'm happy about that. Again, it's not, you know, it's not vindication or vengeance or anything like that. It's just I find it ironically funny. I don't say anything to anyone. I don't say anything to my daughter. I certainly don't say anything to the ex, but I can't help but laugh because it's so true. And it just so happens we're pregnant with a baby on the way. And my daughter's absolutely ecstatic because it's like, oh, yay, finally, another sibling, yay, you know. So I'm laughing internally my ass off, but again, I will never say anything because I don't want to, you know, stir that pot per se. But, you know, I met this woman. She's actually the same age as my ex, and she's so much smarter, so much more mature, so much more like an actual adult that it's funny to see the diametric, just opposing sides. You know, just absolutely opposing sides. You know, but getting back to what I was talking about, I kind of went on a tangent there. We are still fighting to spend time with my daughter. Like I said, we requested to go to mediation. We had to hire a lawyer. We're now $3,000 deep in mediation expenses and lawyer fees and everything else. And we're still trying to come to what should have been a court-ordered mediation. And so my question is, again, how is that fair to me? How is that fair to my family? How is that fair to my daughter that we are burdened with that expense all because the mother refuses to cooperate? And what recourse do we have? What can we do? You know, there's nothing, you know. It's very frustrating because as a male in, you know, 2018, 2019 now, you know, they talk about equality, they talk about fairness, and there is no equality. There is no fairness. You know, it pretty much comes down to that if you're a male, forgive the language, you're fucked. You really are. You have nothing you can do. You can spend a lot of money, you can pray, and you can hope. But it doesn't mean anything. You just better damn well hope you get a good lawyer. You better damn well hope you have a sympathetic judge. You know, so for the guy who was asking about my story, that's it, man. You know, that's the honest truth. All right, it's not pretty, it's not great, you know, but it is what it is. You know, and I'm content with where we are. You know, I'm content with my life. I'm content with, you know, our house. You know, we have a beautiful house. We have two cats. I have a beautiful daughter, and we have a child on the way. You know, we started a business online, Bootstraps.com. Just saying. You know, I'm very content with where we're at. You know, I wish some things were better, but, you know, they could be a lot worse. You know, but my message is to anyone listening to this who stuck around for the multiple technical issues and the several cuts. Thank you, first of all. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, we do these videos. I don't try to paint myself as something I'm not. All right. You know, I actually talked to my wife before I did this. I told her what I wanted to do, and I asked her. I said, "Are you okay with this? You know, is this something that you don't? Would you mind me speaking about? You know, because it's really personal. You know, and I'm not very personal in that regard. I like doing these videos. I like entertaining. I like, you know, putting topics out there. But honestly, I don't really like interacting with people, which is ironic considering I talk on the phone all day with people working. You know, that's my job. And then I try and create, you know, clothing and apparel that I think is humorous and funny, but it still has a meaning behind it, a purpose. And so, you know, making something like this is really unique for me. It's different. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you know, comment below. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. Again, btbootstraps.com. I will talk to you guys later.